For years, the world has watched Meghan Markle craft a version of her life that feels picture perfect. Every smiling photo, every polished documentary scene, every carefully chosen quote paints the image of a modern, loving mother balancing royalty and fame with grace. But what if that image was never real? According to one woman who lived behind those mansion walls, the truth was something else entirely. Strange, tightly controlled, and at times, unsettling. She wasn't a journalist or paparazzo. She was the nanny trusted to care for Archie and Lilibet. Her job was to nurture, protect, and blend into the background. But what she witnessed inside the Sussex home told a story that no royal press release ever could. Behind the speeches about compassion and authenticity, she says the atmosphere was cold, rehearsed, and filled with unspoken rules.
Basically, I'll tell you that I have a source at a California employment company that told me that Harry and Meghan are looking for a new nanny. This is time because there is a churn, which we've discussed in the past, of domestic help. And this nanny position is apparently especially hard.
Another nanny nightmare for Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, as the nanny that the couple have been relying.
Staff moved quietly, smiles were measured, and every moment seemed like it was being performed for someone unseen. The line between real life and production blurred until even the simplest family routines felt staged. This isn't another tabloid headline or social media conspiracy. It's the quiet testimony of someone who saw everything up close and started to realize that inside this so-called fairy tale, nothing was as natural as it seemed. Because when she arrived for what she thought was just a nanny job, she quickly found out she wasn't walking into a home. She was stepping onto a set. And what she discovered next would completely change the way she saw Meghan Markle forever. But it all began with something that didn't quite make sense: the job listing itself. Before the nanny ever met Meghan or Harry, the job posting alone felt strange. It wasn't the kind of ad you'd expect for a royal household. No mention of warmth, creativity, or connection. Instead, it read like a blueprint for control. Every word felt measured, rehearsed, and carefully designed to attract the right kind of person. Not too outspoken, not too visible, and above all, not too curious. The listing described the role as highly confidential and emphasized adaptability, discretion, and an understanding of high-profile households. Those words weren't unusual in elite jobs, but the tone was. It sounded more like an intelligence briefing than a childcare position. Applicants were told to expect non-traditional hours, frequent adjustments, and complete privacy at all times. One detail stood out immediately. Meghan personally wanted to review every applicant's photo and background herself. She wanted to see how each candidate presented, not just professionally, but visually. Staff whispers claimed she didn't want anyone in her home who could distract from the image. Translation: confidence and charisma were liabilities. Social behavior, even social media presence were quietly evaluated. To most people, it sounded superficial. But to insiders, it revealed something deeper about how Meghan saw her world. Every person inside her house wasn't just staff, they were part of the scene. Their presence had to match the mood, tone, and visual narrative of her brand. Rumors circled among agency recruiters: single mothers, too complicated, nannies with large followings or outspoken personalities, too risky, married candidates, possibly a conflict of interest. It became clear that this wasn't a job, it was a casting call. Meghan wasn't just hiring help, she was curating her environment down to the smallest detail. The nanny who would later speak out almost didn't apply. She had years of experience, glowing references, and a calm, motherly demeanor. But something about the phrasing, "your work may be subject to observation at all times," made her hesitate. Still, curiosity won. She submitted her application, unaware that this single decision would lead her into one of the strangest experiences of her life. Because when the interview day came, it wasn't an interview at all, it was an audition. And what she found waiting for her behind those guarded mansion gates would leave her speechless. When the nanny arrived at the Sussex residence, she expected polite introductions, a few questions, maybe a short walk around the nursery. What she didn't expect was silence. Thick, deliberate silence that seemed to listen back. From the outside, the property was stunning. Manicured lawns, trimmed hedges, elegant white walls. But as she stepped through the front door, the air changed. Everything gleamed. Polished floors, floral arrangements placed with surgical precision, candles lit in every room. Yet there was no sound of life. No laughter, no chatter, not even the faint hum of background music. It felt like entering a museum where nothing was allowed to move unless directed. A woman from Meghan's team greeted her, not Meghan herself. The instructions were simple. Go about your usual routine. We'll observe. The word echoed in her mind. No one explained who he was. She assumed it meant Meghan and Harry. But later, she realized there were more eyes in that house than she could ever imagine. Hidden cameras blended into the decor, disguised as light fixtures, smoke detectors, even decorative ornaments. She would later learn this wasn't just security, it was part of Meghan's selection process. Every potential hire was secretly filmed during their trial day. Every expression, movement, and tone was recorded and later reviewed by Meghan herself. Throughout the day, small things felt off. The team asked her to comfort a doll as though it were a real baby, a test, she assumed, to see her natural instinct. Someone quietly timed how long she took to respond to an imaginary cry. During lunch, she was told to sit in a certain chair, facing a certain direction, for light. The setup felt less like childcare and more like an audition for a role she didn't understand. When Meghan finally appeared, she was calm and friendly. Too friendly, almost rehearsed. Her questions were precise. How do you handle being corrected? How do you respond when people misinterpret your intentions? The nanny realized these weren't questions about childcare. They were about control, emotional obedience disguised as professionalism. By the end of the day, she knew one thing. This was not a family home. It was a production. Every smile, every movement, every interaction seemed designed to be watched, recorded, and approved. And when she learned that every applicant's footage was later analyzed to see who fits the household energy, she finally understood what kind of role she was auditioning for. Meghan wasn't looking for a nanny. She was looking for a character in her story. But the real story began after she got the job, when she saw how differently Harry and Meghan viewed what family really meant. Once hired, the nanny quickly saw that the tension in the Sussex home wasn't always loud, but it was constant. It hid behind polite smiles and soft voices, showing up in small disagreements that revealed two very different worlds colliding under one roof. Harry, shaped by palace discipline, wanted order. He believed his children deserved the same structure and security he grew up with, even if he'd spent years criticizing royal life. To him, that meant hiring a Norland-trained nanny, professional, uniformed, and discreet. He valued tradition, routine, and quiet reliability. The nanny could see that in him immediately. The way he asked about feeding schedules, bedtime rituals, safety procedures. He wanted normalcy through structure. Meghan, on the other hand, had a completely different vision. She wanted warmth, but on her own terms, free-flowing, flexible, media-conscious. She rejected anything that looked too royal or too formal. To her, uniforms felt cold. Strict routines, she said, limited creativity. Her idea of parenting blended California informality with Hollywood branding. "We're a modern family," she would often say, but to the nanny, it sometimes sounded more like a script than a belief. Small disagreements turned into subtle power struggles. Harry preferred the nanny to stay out of sight when guests visited. Meghan wanted her nearby, perfectly composed, ready to appear in the background of a photo if needed. Harry valued privacy, Meghan valued presentation. He liked schedules, she liked spontaneity, but only when the cameras were watching. Even decisions about the children's clothes became silent contests. Harry leaned toward classic English outfits. Cardigans, soft colors, formal patterns. Meghan preferred modern designer looks, curated to match her own wardrobe aesthetic. It wasn't about comfort anymore. It was about message. Every choice seemed to represent something bigger than family life. It was image versus identity, duty versus freedom. Over time, the nanny learned that loyalty wasn't just about doing her job well, it was about aligning with whichever vision won that day. One wrong word could be interpreted as taking sides. To outsiders, the Sussex home seemed peaceful, a glamorous couple raising two adorable children under the California sun. But behind the walls, the silence between Harry and Meghan often spoke louder than their words. And as the nanny quietly observed, she began to realize that the children weren't at the center of the household at all. The image of the children was. But the strangest part wasn't the tension between Meghan and Harry. It was what the nanny started to notice about the house itself and the eerie absence of the kids she was hired to care for. At first, the nanny assumed the quietness meant peace, but as days turned into weeks, that peace began to feel unnatural. A home with young children should sound alive. The laughter, the cries, the sudden chaos of toys scattered everywhere. Yet inside the Sussex mansion, the silence was absolute. Every room looked perfect, like a display home for a magazine shoot. Toys were neatly placed, untouched. Cribs stood perfectly made, blankets never creased. She tried to brush it off. Maybe the children spent time in another wing. Maybe they traveled often. Maybe privacy was the reason she never saw them. But even when she worked overnight, when most homes pulse with soft footsteps and the occasional child's whimper, nothing, not a single sound. Other staff noticed too. One housekeeper whispered, "It's strange, isn't it? Feels like a home waiting for children, not one with them." Everyone avoided talking about it openly. Questions weren't encouraged here. Curiosity could cost you the job. The nanny started paying closer attention. The laundry had no small clothes. The kitchen staff never prepared baby meals. She never saw bottles being sterilized or toys move from one day to the next. It was as if time inside those nursery walls stood still. Still, Meghan made sure the outside world saw a different picture. Smiling photos, tender interviews, stories about balancing motherhood and media pressure. But inside, that picture felt hollow. And for the nanny, one moment changed everything. When a glossy magazine spread featured a new family photo inside what was claimed to be the Sussex home, she froze. The layout in the photo didn't match the house she worked in. The windows were different. The light came from another direction. Even the furniture wasn't the same. That's when she realized she wasn't just living in a home. She was living in a set. And soon she would see that set come to life. But not for the family she thought she served. Whenever photographers or documentary crews were scheduled to visit, everything changed. The energy, the routine, the entire atmosphere. The day before, Meghan's team would rush through the house like a production crew. Fresh flowers appeared in every room, toys materialized overnight, family photos were rearranged, and signs of child life suddenly decorated every corner. It wasn't random, it was orchestrated. The nanny watched as scenes were carefully crafted, a story told through still images. Books were placed open on tables, baby blankets draped casually across chairs, sunlight filtered perfectly through half-open blinds. But when the cameras clicked, the children themselves were rarely visible. Sometimes the shots would show Meghan holding a small hand or a blurred figure in the background. Other times, only toys and baby shoes hinted that the kids were nearby. After one private photo session, Meghan thanked the staff and told them to clear everything away. Within an hour, the props vanished, the house returned to silence, and the toys went back to storage. The nanny couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just witnessed a performance, one where the audience would never know what was real. Later, when the couple's Netflix documentary aired, she watched it like everyone else. But to her, the cozy scenes didn't match reality. The walls were a different shade, the decor rearranged, the light unfamiliar. "That's not this house," she muttered under her breath. Even the sound of the children's laughter seemed oddly crisp, almost edited. To the world, the series was touching, a rare glimpse of private family life. But to someone who lived it, the warmth felt manufactured. It dawned on her. In Meghan's world, reality wasn't lived, it was produced. And the cost of maintaining that illusion was far greater than anyone outside those gates could imagine. For the people working inside that home, trust was a luxury they couldn't afford. Every morning began the same way: security checks, phone pouches, and silence. No one entered without surrendering their devices. Every visitor signed NDAs so thick they felt like warning labels. Cameras lined the hallways, visible and invisible, reminding everyone that privacy didn't exist, not even for the staff meant to protect it. Conversations were kept short and surface level. "How are you?" became a dangerous question. Even harmless chatter could be reported as unprofessional. The nanny learned quickly that warmth was risk, distance was safety. What had once been a glamorous opportunity turned into quiet isolation. People came and went, some lasting only weeks. Those who stayed learned to smile on cue, speak softly, and disappear when not needed. Harry himself seemed to fade into the background. His once easy laugh now came out in short bursts, like he was remembering how it used to feel. He wasn't unkind, just subdued, cautious, always aware of who might be watching. The nanny began to understand that Meghan's demand for privacy wasn't just about keeping the press away. It was about control. Control of narrative, of emotion, of reality itself. Inside those walls, everyone became an actor in a play they didn't audition for. Eventually, she left, not with anger, but with exhaustion. She said she wanted peace, something she hadn't felt since the day she walked into that immaculate, silent mansion. Her story, whispered years later, wasn't one of revenge, it was one of truth, about how easily authenticity disappears when image becomes everything. And once that illusion takes hold, it's almost impossible to tell where the story ends and real life begins. The nanny's story doesn't prove everything people suspect, but it raises questions that no PR campaign can silence. If a family's warmth only appears when the cameras roll, is it still real? If privacy turns into surveillance, what's being protected? The people or the performance? Behind Meghan's confident speeches about motherhood and empowerment, this account leaves a haunting thought that the perfect image we see might not just be curated, it might be constructed. And maybe the most chilling detail isn't the control, or the secrecy, or the empty rooms, it's the silence. The kind of silence that fills spaces where truth once lived. Because in the end, every fairy tale has two sides. The version we're told, and the one the people inside wish we'd never see. If this story made you question what's real and what's rehearsed, you won't want to miss what comes next. In our previous investigation, we uncovered what Sarah Ferguson revealed about Meghan's hidden past, a story that shook even the royals. Watch it now on Star Spotlight, where we dig beyond the headlines to uncover the truths no one else dares to tell.